All right, cool. Welcome, Tassilo. So, explain yourself, why you're here, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. So again, yeah, I'm Tassilo. I'm originally from Germany, Berlin, and I live in Barcelona and work at Norskin, and this is how I got to know Matt. Yeah, we're in this group together of discussing AI. And yeah, about myself, I'm mostly an entrepreneur, builder, also freelancer, and always between building startups, which I did in various fields of ed tech, longevity, climate tech, nature finance. Some of them worked. One of them I also sold to a Nasdaq biotech company. Others failed. This is how it goes. And in between, I love to work also as a design thinking coach. So user-centric innovation is really my thing. And yeah, I'm a self-taught developer. I started, I don't know, at the age of 8 or 9 or something with QBasic back then, building some little video games for my friends, like yeah, pre-pubertarian video games, so to say. Uh, then I always had long breaks in my coding career, sometimes more than 10 years of a break. Jump back in with React Native and so on to build this longevity app. Switched into business roles again, and yeah, right now I'm just transitioning out of a CTO role as a co-founder, also in a nature tech startup, and I am now testing the waters with um, consulting companies on integrating automation and AI into their workflows. And I thought that the first thing that I could do is actually make myself irrelevant with automation. So to automate my own automation, workflow automation advisory. And I did this together with the little approach of having a little AI detox. So I abstained from any agentic programming, any vibe coding, and yeah, just started coding again in plain Python. Um,
Ooh.
and yeah, it was terrible. It was terrible. Yeah, I was so slow. But anyway, out of this came this little thing that I'm gonna present to you today. And you're actually, apart from Matt, the first people who will see it. So it's probably gonna crash. But who
Mm.
knows? Maybe it's gonna work as well. So what I thought about is when I am in yeah, exactly. Um, when I am in a call with clients initially, I thought, there could be this wow element, this wow effect, when they just talk about their current workflow and how everything works, and I could present them with the solution in the same call, just by having a little voice recording running in the background, and that could generate already the automation and maybe even already deploy it. So that was kind of the vision that I had, and this is how I started to build this little friend here, which I call Heraclit. And Heraclit, I studied philosophy, so it's a personal thing why I named it this way, but also because Heraclit said, "Pantarei, everything flows," and this is actually the state that I want to get companies into, that all of their work flows just flow automatically. And yeah, to demo this, so client name. So oof, why can't I? Okay, let's call this test client. So you see, I have a phase where I go for really minimal design, and let's call this just test workflow. And So imagine I'm in a call with a client, and yeah, to make things a little bit more consistent, I will just read out a little text that describes how a client could describe their workflow. So imagine they will now start talking like this when I ask them, how do you handle this currently? Every Monday, I pull our weekly sales numbers from SAP, export them to Excel, then manually copy them into my own spreadsheet that feeds our KPI report template in PowerPoint. I update the slides and email the deck to our regional managers and CFO. Takes about 2 hours. The tricky part is what happens next depends on the numbers. If revenue is down more than 5%, I pull a separate CRM export, cross-reference which deals slipped, and write an exception report for the board. If revenue is flat or up, I skip that and update a customer dashboard instead. Two completely different workflows, and I have to decide which path to take based on the data every single week. So while this is loading now, actually, yeah, ooh, I see that up here, um, maybe the API did actually not warm up. Yeah, this could be the first failure, but let's see if it worked. Um, because yeah, I deployed two APIs actually in the background, a translator API and a strategy API. So both with fast API, and I have them on render in the free version. So they are normally sleeping, and you have to ping them to warm up, which normally takes like 50 seconds to do. I hope this went through because normally I get a feedback here that they are warmed up with yeah, with the green dot, which now did not go for the translator. So, well, anyway, the translator API normally does the following. It takes in the transcript. So here for the speech to text, I chose DeepGram, but I also have Whisper as an alternative. Um,
Mhm.
and it takes that and also runs it through a vector database for a RAG system where I have actually like 1,000 test descriptions of workflows with the translations into specific workflow schema. So as a JSON output, and that needs to be done that way. And yeah, this takes a
What's that?
while.
So what's that? Is that kind of like the training? It basically says, can you map the request to an existing workflow? Is that what you're describing?
Yeah, I mean, training is too much to say. So now we get the result. So I'm gonna get into this. So this is now what got out. I mean, it's context provision, and I tested it a lot and fine-tuned the prompts with that and also the logic. And actually, yeah, before I get into what we see now, um, yeah, so I actually hard coded the first version, so it shows a mixture of a deterministic logic with real registries of like different steps that could be described and different data artifacts, and it then takes it from there. Um,
Yeah.
so here, what we see like first is like the translation of what I talked out before into a workflow. So here we have artifacts, which are the smaller ones, the smaller nodes, and in between we have the steps. So here we start with weekly sales data, then it goes to the step of retrieve weekly sales numbers, then it goes on to then the data artifact, which then goes on to exported sales data, transfer sales data to spreadsheet, and so on. So luckily, that worked out fine, I think. Can you actually read this, or is it too small?
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, yeah, not so bad.
Okay.
I've got bad eyes, so I'm not gonna. Don't ask me.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So as you see, we have here now depicted into steps and artifacts what I described before, and then down here we now have four different approaches how to automate this. So we have like the quick win with using make. So let's look into that. So then here this is like the very easy one. So I chose to have four categories, which is like a quick win where you just use one automation tool, which from the rather popular ones, and yeah, then we also have here then some details on this, a little description like this quick win strategy leverages make to automate the four most impactful steps of your weekly sales reporting process, achieving a 57% automation coverage,
Yeah.
and so on. So this is something that I want to be able to just read out to the client that they understand it right away. Anyway, let's now go into a different one, which now the sales, the sharing thing is in the way. So, okay, let's go now to the option of a custom workflow platform. So here is more than the approach that I would build something for them from scratch. So not using any tools, but rather, yeah, just code it myself or have it built. um, and it shows me the tech stack also and what the different parts do. So we have data service, notification service, orchestrator, core business logic, and so on. And also here, then we have yeah, a bit more details on all of this. But let's go to the most exciting part, which is the agentic solution. So here now, since I've added a description that yeah is like prone to actually be solved by an agent because there are several parts where um, uh, where you have to decide based on the data coming in which tool to use or which route to take and so on. And there's also like memory required. So here then we have the agentic solution. It's a little bit chaotic still. Sometimes like these little boxes overlap. Anyway, when now I go to select this strategy, I have here like more details on like also like yeah which models and tech stack and so on to use the benefits, the trade-offs, the key risks, then also the specific yeah prompts for the agents and yeah the implementation steps, then even the implementation roadmap here for it, and then I can go here, implement the strategy. And here, then we have two options. Yeah, either we go with line graph and then, yeah, we have that like the code export. But for that, then we still need another tool. Whereas with cloud managed agents, then we can actually then generate a spec that is yeah under the standards for cloud managed agents, so that it fits exactly the format which is expected there. And then fingers crossed, I deploy it to cloud managed agents right away.
Are you on the
Um,
call with them at this point? Is that how you're imagining it?
yeah,
Or are you thinking, no, call finished, they've agreed, and now I'm
no,
gonna.
no, no. I'm still like I'm doing all of this like in the background more or less, or let's say this part before I show them like the canvas.
Yeah.
And then since this here I can do very fast, because the deployment is very fast with cloud managed agents. And you actually call their endpoint just with a triple post. And then let's see um, to view it in Cloud Console. Oh, that opens a different window. So let me quickly change the window. I think this is the right one now. So you can see
I can see an
we're
agent.
now,
Yeah,
yeah,
agent.
exactly. So
Yeah.
so you see 39 seconds to go. It actually has been deployed. It's right here. And of course, there's now still some fine tuning here until it really. So if I go on sessions, for example, like it's still like idle and so on. It's not like acting right away, but there's not that much to do anymore. So yeah, this is how I picture to give them like the wow effect of automation within the same call when they just talk. And maybe I don't even give them a heads up what is happening in the background. Um, and then just say, yeah, by the way, it's already here.
Yeah, and then they turn around and say, "Great, how much are you going to charge for that?" You just put it on the call. Um,
Yes.
what's the So you've not tried this actually with a user yet, no, or a potential client?
No, you were now actually the first people to see this. Yeah.
Yeah, we should have gone in with like, okay, give me a use case, and then we could have described it. But it appeared to work, no? Like even though the little the cut the beeper, I don't know what you call it, at the top, even though that looked like it wasn't picking up the transcription, it was.
Yeah, yeah, it was apparently. I don't know why that dot didn't show
How could
that. Yeah.
Please, I'm going to ask a couple of questions for like 3 or 4 minutes, and then we'll jump to Francesca. Well, 1 minute actually. So if anyone has a question, please ping it. I just had a question about the fast API bit you mentioned. Is that just because then you can use that APIs more easily, or have you got some specific reason for using fast API?
Yeah, for me, it's just the go-to frame for deploying APIs, and yeah, it's just makes sure that there's also like type security and so on. So I don't know. Do you use something
No, well,
else?
I don't typically. I mean, I've come across it. It's just that maybe I've just not done enough projects where I've had to deploy an API in that sense. But I'll have to revisit Fast API as
Oh
a.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if you go for that, it's actually very straightforward. It's also open source. I think it was developed by just one guy. I don't know, Spanish guy or Latin American guy. And yeah, then from there, if you have that as a framework, you can easily deploy it to render or another service. Yeah.
Very cool. Any questions, anyone? And then so. All right, awesome. Well, mate, Tassilo, thank you very much for that. I mean, finding ingenious ways to close a client, I'm a big fan of. I'm gonna come back to you in a couple of weeks and ask you how it's gone down with the actual clients. Because
Yeah.
I think it's I don't know, it's pretty cool, really
Yeah,
cool.
but I mean, the actual work is really the fine tuning of um, understanding the right steps in the right way, testing it so many times with so many different cases, because people can also like talk in ways that are not structured at all, and they start talking about their workflow, and then suddenly they talk about something else, and so on. And in the beginning, I had like a rather stupid model to handle this, but now I cannot go below Sonnet 4.6 for this,
Oh,
for
really?
example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a project similar, but not the same case. But it's around like coaching people how to run good meetings, and so you have to kind of it's constantly listening and then trying to give advice. And it's the same process, like somewhat. Anyway, I'll talk to you afterwards. All right, Fran. Oh no, we got Daniel's raised a hand. Was that right? Um, go
We
ahead.
cannot hear you.
Yeah, I can't hear you at the moment. No, you're on mute now. Ping the question in the chat if you want. Yeah, there you go. Drum roll. What might the question be?
Okay, so question is, did you code it everything yourself or did an agentic skill related? Um, yeah, as I said, I started with this as a project for AI detox. So I really coded the first versions of both APIs myself. Um, and then also for the UI, then yeah, I just started a Next.js project and did the first screens also myself and all of that. But then at some point, I was getting so impatient and I just gave the whole thing. So I had then like three projects in one master folder, and yeah, gave it to Opus and said like, here's what I have. You should understand what it is about. And here's also the documentation. And just please make it much better. Yeah. And that's when it started again, and I'm hooked again. It's terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's I think it's an amazing thing. I'm not if I was it's a bit like if you were like a master artist or weaver, and then you're like suddenly, oh wait a second, this machine does the things I was doing, but we all survived afterwards. Anyway, Fran, right, I'm conscious of time, so we've got 20 minutes. So can you, if you want to share your screen, thanks, Tassilo, for that. I'll come and buy you a coffee when next time I see you. Fran, share your screen or say hello, and then introduce who you are, how you know the community maybe, and then yeah, talk us through what you built, and then we'll try and ask some questions again. Maybe a bit more technical, maybe not. I don't know at this point.
Okay, yeah. Hi everyone. I'm Francesca. I'm originally from the UK, but I've been living in Barcelona for about 7 years now. Um, I studied linguistics at university, and I like towards the end of my degree, I focused more on like kind of computational linguistics, specialities and things like that. And then the past 2 years, I've been working in conversational AI on a project for clinical voice bot, where I was a conversation designer. And when we eventually started designing workflows using more LLMs and like agentic workflows, let's say, we kind of adapted the way that we were evaluating our workflows using tools such as like DeepEval, like this, to be able to kind of analyze, well, basically like when we were developing, analyze all of our conversations in bulk. Are we developing all the use cases? Are the minimum use cases covered? And things like this. But one part that I always found about my work is that the voice layer is never covered. So even though we can be evaluating on a text-based level, if these interactions are going the way that we expected, there aren't that many resources on the market that are handling the voice layer. And if they are handling the voice layer, it's essentially just validating basically taking the voice, taking like the audio wave, transcribing it, and then basing that evaluation on a transcription. So essentially a text-based evaluation again. There are a few tools that kind of evaluate on using metrics related to voice. And then on the other hand as well, so we obviously using we use a mix of different AI voices, and we quite often had to listen to every single transcript, and we would see errors in the pronunciation and things like this, and that it was all this work was manual essentially. Every time it had to be us, either coincidentally we happen to listen to this part of the transcript and we've seen some issues and then we need to manually correct it, and things like that. So Sorry, I waffled a little bit. I don't really have a technical background, but honestly, I'd say like with the development of Claude and everything, I've been really empowered to, try and create the things that I want to make. So yeah, I'll share my screen and I'll show you a little bit about what I've made. Hopefully I can share. Okay.
It's a cool story. I mean, Tassilo obviously is CTO vibes, but the fact that you've not come from a technical background and can articulate what you want to some extent with AI is amazing. So, are you sharing your screen? Right. There we go.
Can you see it now?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on.
Okay. So let me go here. So essentially, I made a system that analyzes different metrics related to voice, and the idea is to evaluate the quality of the AI generated voice itself rather than the interaction basis. So essentially, we're looking for different kinds of hallucinations, whether that be errors in pronunciation, errors in like prosody. So is it speaking too fast or too slow? Any kind of issues related to unnatural pauses, so like a pause in the middle of the sentence or a long pause at the end of the sentence. Intonation, so is a question being read, or a question or a phrase being read with the correct intonation, and as well different metrics sort of related to how natural it sounds, like does the quality of the voice sound robotic or natural, different things like this. So I kind of just started by talking to Claude, like, oh, this is kind of my idea, like why have I not seen like any platforms offering this, because it seems like such an obvious thing to me, because I was struggling with this every single day as well. Kind of going back and forth, and obviously like with my linguistics background, I was able to share as well projects that I'd done in the university, which we talked about these kind of things, and we'd extracted certain metrics related to voice, like is there anything in these projects that could be interesting, also searching whether GitHub repos or different research, what kind of things can I get together to kind of create something. So yeah, in the end it was, I kind of made a plan and went through the different steps, and then more recently, like when I was doing some improvements to it, I kind of adopted a bit of a different method where I was, rather than creating like phases, I was creating specs, and I found the spec format a little bit better because it made my work a bit more controlled, because it's very easy to be, oh, add another thing and add another thing and add another thing, and you lose track quite quickly, or can advance too quickly than what you can analyze, let's say. So essentially the idea would be like you can upload just one audio clip and you can analyze the quality of that voice, or you can upload an entire suite. So you'd upload the suite and then you'd click run. At the moment, I've already loaded it because it runs locally, and the model that I have is quite a small one. It takes a very long time. So I've opted to do it before, but it is something that in the future I'd like to, if I could have a more powerful laptop and handle bigger local models, that would be great. But actually the part that I'm using the model for is a smaller part anyway. So I'll talk about that in a second. So essentially, once you've ran the evaluation, you get here an overview of the of what's happened in each case, and then some of the different errors that have been detected. So for example, speaking rate out of expected range happened 3 times, mid-phrase pause, a natural pause inside a phrase 2 times, and then you have each case underneath. So if I go to an interesting case, let me see where it is. Okay, so something like this one here. Oh, 1 second, sorry.
Do you have chest pain right now?
Could you hear that?
Yeah.
Well, the point was, in this example, it was quite choppy because there were pauses in between different words, and it sounded quite unnatural. So essentially here I've been able to detect that there were suspicious pause patterns twice, and it was speaking at an irregular rate. Obviously, due to the pauses, it's going to affect the rate in which it's speaking. And then on top of that, one thing I've added recently is it can you can listen to the exact part where this unnatural pauses occurred, so you can jump straight to that part in the audio. Although, like in this case, obviously the clips are short, but maybe in another case with a longer audio, it could be more interesting. And I've added this part of next actions, which the idea is that so, sometimes, especially when you're using these voice providers, if 11 Labs does a hallucination, like you can't really control that. Like they have their own, motor generating this voice, what are you supposed to do? But sometimes there are different strategies that in conversation design, like we employ to overcome some of these problems. So here, like for example, you might want to, include some SSML prosody tags, or you can sometimes like play around with punctuation. So review the punctuation. Maybe, for example, you've added some punctuation that wasn't correct and that was causing these unnatural pauses. Maybe you can, use, okay, for example, like you might want to use a full stop rather than a comma to adapt, like to make a longer pause, even though like grammatically that would be incorrect. On an audio level, it can actually produce like a more natural sounding phrase. SSML is essentially like a kind of like a markup language. So you in some providers don't accept them, but other providers do. But essentially, you can add some of these tags in and say speak fast here, and it will speak faster at the part where you've put the labels around it. Or read this in the format of a telephone number. So if you've just put all the numbers, it knows how to split them to the correct, for example, like 0800 or something like this. It knows how to split them up rather than just saying 0800 like this, or different things like this. So it might be something that you might want to explore to see if you could solve some of these issues. Or of course, if you determine that it is like a full-blown hallucination, depending again on how this voice was generated. If this is a voice that you've cloned, perhaps you can re-record the the audio clips that you've given for the for this cloning. It could be something to do with that, or it might be a problem that ultimately you have to escalate to 11 Labs if you see this happening a lot, essentially. So basically that, like I can go through other examples I've done, but this is just like a demo dashboard where I basically kind of made different audios to demonstrate the different metrics that I'm extracting. And yeah, I suppose like kind of future plans for this task. It would be better if it's incorporated into a full analysis system. So I haven't worked on any of the semantic layer because, DeepEval and all these other resources already exist. So I'm not going to spend my time working on that, but integrated into another system, it could be interesting. So, yeah.
You can hear me, yeah? What's the, just to clarify, is the analysis of the audio done by an audio model, rather it doesn't translate it to text and then analyze it?
Yeah, so I do have a transcription, like for example, if we go to this one, I do have the expected script and then what the output was according to my transcription model that I've chosen. So there is a part of that, but I'm not using it too much in the analysis that I'm doing at the moment. But the idea would be to, be able to leverage it. But I didn't want to focus on that too much because other tools are kind of doing this, I suppose. So, evaluating on a semantic level wasn't my goal.
What do you so what did you build it with? What's your stack?
A mixture of well, using Claude obviously, but I try to keep it to tools that I want. So I'm not trying to learn Python in these things. So I try to always indicate to use the stack that I want to learn most about. So essentially just Python, and then for the transcript I'm using Whisper. Then there is a small semantic layer, but I can show that example, but it's not I don't really like that example too much. Like, for example, here it's detecting like the medication name is changed. So it's like a little bit of a semantic layer. So for that, I'm using the local LLM to determine like how faithful it is to the original. So compared to the original, compared to the outcome, how faithful is the outcome essentially. So I'm using like a very small Olama model. It's like a 7 billion, so like pretty small. Whisper, Python. You can tell that I don't know.
No,
I'm not.
I'm
But,
not quizzing you. I'm not quizzing you on that. But where are you building in? Are you building in like Claude Desktop? Are you got an IDE?
yeah. So
What that look like?
I normally try to start off in Claude, like maybe, when I'm having a conversation, like I'm wanting to build something like this, what do you think? Kind of going back and forth like this. But then I usually pass to the IDE. So well, actually I have the IDE, but then I put it in the terminal. I don't really like having it in the sidebar. I like having it at the bottom. So essentially I like to be able to see, the files that I'm creating. And go step by step and retest test the parts that it's created and see how they're working.
I mean, I didn't like that, to be honest. I use VS Studio, and then I just run it in the terminal, and I never really look at the files, but it's nice to look at them.
Yeah.
To see the structure, let's say, versus like the content. No, I mean, it's amazingly impressive. I wonder, please, people, just ask some questions. We've got 5 more minutes. If you have one, just put a little hand up, digital hand up, maybe. This could be an API, I suppose, couldn't it? You could kind of like the logic, like where's the analysis bit done? Like, is it in a system prompt? Is it something like, okay, where do you define the rules?
Yeah. So for most of the metrics that I'm analyzing right now, they're all like individual functions. So we're not actually using AI in most of the analysis that's happening. The only one that AI is analyzing is the small semantic layer that I've got. So yeah, actually not. Was it like AI has created this for me, but there's not too much AI within it.
Okay, amazing. I want to keep jumping in the questions, but so please, someone ask if they get on. How relevant is it to your old job? Out of curiosity, in the sense,
Yeah.
is it like, I wish I'd had this when I worked, on this problem?
Yeah. I would say relevance for my old job. One of the biggest issues I had was as well, but I might say, oh, I listened to a phone call today, and instead of saying apuntado, the chatbot said atontado. So you're essentially potentially half insulting a patient. And sometimes it was difficult to kind of get credibility with these issues because maybe perhaps like bosses and things like this would say, oh, well, if it's just once and these things, and it wasn't just once. So I wouldn't always have like a way to measure the amount of times this was really happening to then present data saying, we need to actually try to do something about this, or try and complain to the voice providers, or try and think of they weren't just kind of like one-off hallucinations at this point. So I think potentially with a tool like this, like maybe not in this format, it would have needed to have been like integrated differently, but it could have helped me potentially like get credibility when trying to report issues, because just show, just labeling one-off cases where I saw this wasn't always enough. And I'd also say as well, like, during the voice design stage, essentially we would write a sentence, listen to it. Okay, does this sentence sound okay? Okay, yes, let's carry on. It can be a little bit, it's just like another layer to it. You have to think of the questions, but you also have to listen to the questions. It could have been a part that essentially, like if you have a list of keywords, like, especially like with some of the older voice providers. So let's say like Amazon and things like this, that there were certain words that we just knew it can't pronounce that. It just doesn't like that word for whatever reason, and we couldn't really do anything about it. So you immediately avoid it. It could have been good to have, some kind of detection system saying you've just put "qué tal" and it can't pronounce "qué tal," for example. So it might not have been like the biggest aspect of my job, but it probably would have helped some of these more like manual things that I was working on, or help me build credibility when I'm trying to provide evidence to why I don't think something's working. Does anyone have any more questions?
Yeah, I just had a thought. I mean, just since you mentioned already, like pronunciation of a Spanish word that came out wrong. I mean, if in the end I see some potential here, you can like really turn it around that it can become like a pronunciation trainer for you when you learn a language, for example, and you speak into it the way you would say it, and then maybe even in your own voice, it gives it back to you in a way how you
Yeah.
should say it immediately.
Yeah, no, completely. Like, I definitely think some of the metrics that I'm measuring, that I'm extracting, like for this, can also be applied to human voice. And in fact, a lot of the metrics that I'm using were originally designed to analyze human voice rather than a generated voice anyway. But it's definitely something that you could then apply to, other things like this. So like trainers, pronunciation. I do know that prep, for example, I don't know if you're familiar. It's like a online tutor platform. They do have some kind of things like this. So they kind of extract parts of your conversation and then say like, oh, you pronounced this wrong. And it shows you the recording of what you said and what the correct pronunciation is. So there definitely are like, there's just one example, but I think there's a whole range of applications really that extracting these kind of metrics could have.
Yeah. Sales coaching, I mean, any kind of coaching, like fucking anxiety detecting. I don't know. I'm sure there's loads. Anyway, awesome. Thank you both for sharing your projects. I appreciate you just rocked up and I didn't really give you too much prep, but I hope that everyone who else joined the call found something interesting, insightful from that, and let's see where the next what this format looks like. Like, super interesting.